Well, it's August. I'm with Jan. Jan, it's time for our tips of the month. So what should we be doing in the garden? Because it's been a long, hot summer.
It has. Well, we're standing in an area that's telling us something. There's a high water table over here and it's shady. So I don't water the lawn in the summer, but it's still green here. That's where the sun hits right here. And so it's fried. But it's not dead. It looks dead. It's not dead. It's dormant. So next spring I'll be mowing this just like anything else. So there's no amount of water you're going to put on this to make it green now. Just let it be dormant, and then in the fall rains will bring it back.
Right. And it's important to say that it's dormant. It's not
It's
dead
not
and
dead,
done.
it's dormant. And like I say, there is not any amount of water right now that will bring it back to a nice green lawn for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, because there's some people that think, oh, say, I can resurrect this. I should throw some fertilizer and some water on it. But that's really not what we should be doing now.
The thing to do now, too, is just to observe your landscape or your containers or whatever it is you have, and just because it's been a warmer summer than we're used to having, some things that you've normally had in sun have been fine may not be. So you might want to, in the fall or at next spring, move them into a little bit more shade than they had before, so they don't quite fry quite as much.
Because it's a good time to take some notes and see what's
Absolutely.
working, what's not.
Right now, too, a lot of people have rhododendrons that don't look very good. I have a native in the front yard that really needs water. I'm going to water it more today because it's droopy, and I may lose it in the next batch of heat. So what I want it to do is go into the winter not stressed.
Yeah, because I have things in my yard that I don't ever water because they've been established for a long
time.
time. But
Exactly.
But they're suffering this year.
Yes, they are.
So they do need to be careful to watch those and make sure we do some supplemental.
And if you've succumbed, like I have, to many of the perennial sales that are on in garden centers and nurseries, don't come home and plant them because you'll have a hard time keeping them going. The best thing to do is to group them and keep them watered and healthy, and then in the fall when the rains come, you can put them where you want them.
Good. Which are all good tips.
Exactly.
And then there's also some things that we could be doing in our vegetable gardens, from our early spring things that are time to do now.
Right.
Too.
Well, you can do a lot of planting for fall and winter gardens. I'm going to plant some bush beans today, and I have carrots and beets and some other things that have some leftover seed, and I'm just going to put it in and hope for the best.
Right. And there's some cole crop things that are
absolutely all the cole crops: cabbage, kale, broccoli, whatever you want to do. And then also the other thing I'm going to do is this time of year you always trim your not ever-bearing but your June-bearing strawberries, trim them clear down to the crown, and fertilize, water them, and then they'll set a bunch of berries for next year, because that's what it's going to set in the crown.
Okay, so it's doing that now.
Right, so you might as well cut all that foliage off and just let it come back.
Because if we wait till fall to do that, are we cutting off next year's berries?
Yeah, I think you're going to at least reduce them.
And speaking of, trying to get everything watered and hydrated after all of this heat, you have some tips on actually how to do that so we make sure that plants are actually getting the water.
Well, we recommend mulch to retain moisture in the soil, but depends on how much mulch you have on and where you have it. And this is something that seems like a simple thing to do, but water first, like you always do, thinking it's enough, and then dig around the root zones of the plants and find out how much water it actually got. If you've got a lot of mulch on, you may have only wet the mulch and not the root zone of the plant.
Right, because when your roots are down this far and you're only soaking it into the mulch, you're not getting
and
it where
so
it
if you're having an issue with getting that water down, scratch around the root zone of the plant so that it doesn't make a surface the water runs off of, so that when you do water, it'll penetrate the soil. Or if you've got a lot of mulch, pull it away from the root zone and then water.
Make sure that water gets all the way down.
Right.
And Judy and I were out in the garden earlier, which picking or may not have gotten some apples.
Yes.
But it is harvest time. So what do we need to know about harvesting? Apples and pears are coming up.
Well, right now, when the apples start to drop, that means they're ready to pick. And mine in like 3 days dropped almost the whole tree worth because of the heat.
Yeah.
So they're perfectly good. Pears, what you do is you cup the pear, especially Bartlett's work this way, cup the pear and pull up on it and make that stem go horizontal.
Okay.
And if it snaps off, it's ready. And then pick it and then store it, or in a cool, dark place. Because if you leave them on the tree to wait till you think they're ripe, they're going to be grainy.
Yeah, they get
And
that kind
not
of
as
mealy kind
no,
of taste.
yeah,
like
not
it.
as good. So that's when to pick pears. Lots of the other fruits, the plums and things, are pretty much done. The figs are pretty much done now.
Yeah.
Between the birds at the top and people at the bottom, they're pretty much gone.
Yeah. So, Jan, there's always plenty to do in our garden, depending on there's always something
Sure.
going on, even though it's the middle of summer. So we appreciate all of the tips. And what are some good places to go to get some more information?
Well, there's the OSU websites, I Ask the Experts. There's the OSU publications where you can go online and read or print out publications on fall vegetable gardening or picking fruit or pruning fruit trees or whatever. So there's a lot of information that you can get.
And you can always go to the gardentime.tv website. We'll click you over to some of those great links. So, Jan, it's always a pleasure to be out in the garden with you, and we are looking forward to having some of those apples.
There you
and
are.
So we
You
appreciate
gonna bring me a pie?
We'll talk. So thanks for the information, Jan. We look forward to being out in the garden and staying cool and protecting our plants.
Right.